It turns out that only 3% of brands have the ability to think and act differently to become extraordinary. Are you a 3%er? Paul Rolkins in his TEDx Maastricht talk points out that the majority is almost always wrong. It's because the 97% of the majority live within the box. The lines that shape the box are the boundaries and standards we live by. The majority get hampered by industry norms. Norms such as legal, moral, social, and ethical. And because they follow the norms, they begin to conform and benchmark the leaders by emulating their attributes. This isn't a path to being innovative, it's a recipe for sameness. So what's the answer? How do you stand out? Well, first you need to know that the word norm is an abbreviation for normal. In other words, if you do what everyone else is doing, you get the results that everyone else is getting. You can become part of the 3% by deciding as of today to break industry norms and standards. Do more of what makes you different and intentionally less of what everyone else does as normal. Normal represents the standards within your industry. Normal defines the right way. Normal is usually synonymous with strong. If everyone else is doing it, then it must be a good thing. Well, we need to expand this small box. By doing so, we can create a matrix of 4 boxes. Let me explain how the matrix is set up. The vertical y-axis represents at the top what makes you imperfect or different, and at the bottom what everyone else considers as normal. The horizontal x-axis is the idea of doing more or doing less. Each of the 4 quadrants or boxes is represented by an animal. The first quadrant in the top left represents doing less of what makes you different. It's the cow quadrant. Every cow is unique. Their spots are like our fingerprints. No 2 cows are alike, yet cows are blissfully unaware of their uniqueness. Establish a cow path and they will never stray from it. We call this the conform quadrant. On the other side, the second quadrant, top right, is doing more of what makes you different. We call it the peacock quadrant. Like cows in their spots, the feathers of a peacock are unique, but unlike cows, they own it. Their uniqueness is a signature part of who they are. They purposely preen and flaunt their feathers to stand out amongst the flock. We call this the strut quadrant. The third quadrant in the bottom right represents doing more of what makes you normal. We call it the zebra quadrant. Zebras are black with white stripes. Their striping is determined by genetics. And even though they're unique, the individual stripes are indistinguishable amongst other zebras. The stripes create a blending effect, making it impossible for an individual zebra to stand out amongst the herd. You can't add stripes and be different here. It's just more of the same. We call this the match quadrant. The fourth quadrant in the bottom left represents doing less of what everyone else does as normal. It's the polar bear quadrant. Now, why a polar bear? Well, what color are polar bears? Contrary to popular belief, they aren't white. They're black. Their fur is translucent because each individual hair is hollow. The fur absorbs the light and takes away all of the colors in the spectrum, so they appear white to our eye. Generally, polar bears avoid the herd and live solitary lives. This is called the subtract quadrant. If you want to differentiate yourself, then you need to get out of the box and think more like a peacock or a polar bear. Do less of what everyone else does as normal, like a polar bear, or flaunt that you do more of what makes you different, like a peacock. Your flaws and imperfections are the things that make you truly awesome. And to illustrate this, I want to share a story that happened 500 years ago. In the 15th century, there was a Japanese shogun named Ashikaga Yoshimasa, and he had a favorite tea bowl, much like you might have a favorite coffee mug, something that has sentimental value and could never be replaced. Well, one day Ashikaga wasn't paying attention. He knocked his tea bowl over and it shattered into pieces. His heart sank. Discouraged, he sent it out to be repaired, and when it came back 2 days later, it was fixed using ugly metal staples and black, coarse, nasty glue. Ashikaga held it in his hands and he just felt utter disappointment. This wasn't acceptable. So he called in his best craftsmen from the entire Osaka region. He handed the bowl over to them and challenged them to create a more pleasing method of repair. And the craftsmen went to work. They carefully took apart the pieces, they cleaned them, they removed the staples and the black, coarse, ugly glue. And after cleaning each piece, they began to use lacquer and gold to meticulously repair the cracks. The entire process nearly took 2 weeks. But when the craftsman returned and presented Ashikaga with the tea bowl, his heart leapt. The shogun was extremely pleased with the result. Out of the efforts of these craftsmen came the art of kintsugi. Kintsugi in Japanese translates to golden joinery and has become a metaphor for embracing your flaws. It espouses the idea that the broken is more beautiful than the pristine. The gold is used intentionally to call attention to the breaks instead of trying to conceal them. And collectors became so enamored with the new art that some were accused of deliberately smashing valuable pieces of property so it could be repaired with the golden seams of kintsugi. Here's the important kintsugi takeaway. Carefully tending to the cracks makes the object more beautiful, not despite the flaws, but because of the attention played on them. To highlight and address the flaws, not to cover them up. Through our research, we found 8 different types of what we call pink goldfish. Flaunting is the cornerstone of the Flossom framework. The remaining 7 types are lopsiding, antagonizing, withholding, swerving, opposing, micro-weirding, and exposing. Let's have a look at 3 of the types. Most brands are trying to be balanced and well-rounded. Lopsiding involves amplifying, not reducing your brand's flaws. The approach here is to expand them, to exaggerate them, and then supersize them. An example of this dates back to 1919 when W.K. Buckley formulated a cough syrup called Buckley's Mixture. Noted for the strong, unpleasant taste, it's not for the faint of heart. Instead of trying to fix the flawed taste, the company decided to lopside the flaw and began promoting a new slogan for the brand. It tastes awful, and it works. The Bad Taste campaign increased Buckley's market share by over 550% in the Canadian cough and cold category. The second type is antagonizing. Antagonizing is about polarizing, repelling, and taunting. It's based on the simple realization that if you try to be for everyone, you end up being for no one. It advocates for alienating your non-target market and the idea that more some people hate you, the more others will love you. An example of this comes from the Alamo Drafthouse movie theater. They'd once received a nasty voicemail from a customer. She complained after being thrown out for violating their strict no talking, no texting policy. Instead of apologizing, they made her voicemail into a public service announcement that they now play in the previews of their movies. The third type is what we call withholding. If lopsiding was about doing more of what makes you unique, then withholding is about consciously pulling back and doing less of what everyone else considers as normal. This is an anti-benchmarking strategy. An example of this comes from REI. How do you compete on Black Friday? Well, most retailers would try to do more. Longer hours, bigger sales, doorbuster deals. REI decided to do less. They closed their stores and shut down their e-commerce on the biggest day of retail. And the result? They gained memberships and they increased sales. Here's the takeaway from Pink Goldfish. Think beyond the norm with your brand strategy. Remember the peacock and the polar bear. Do more of what makes you unique and different and less of what everyone else does as normal.